to another episode of the Easy K Show. I am Darth Easy.
And I'm Rainy Cage.
And this is episode 126 of the Easy K Show. On a new schedule, episodes should start coming out on Sundays instead of Thursdays. I think that was the day we were doing them on. So yeah, that's the new plan for now. So until the plan changes.
I hate it.
Hate it?
No, I'm just playing. It's fine.
Okay. So this week, every month, we always try to do a top 10 whenever we're actually on schedule. Except when we're on hiatus and, it may be canceled, like last year. So, but every month we try to do a top 10 on a random topic. Usually we try to dedicate it to a movie that's coming out. Last month we did top 10 monster movies set around Godzilla versus Kong. This month, Tom Clancy's Without Remorse is coming out, which is the guy who did Jack Ryan and all that kind of stuff. And so I felt like this was a good opportunity for us to do top 10 movies based off books. We haven't done this list before. There's all kinds of movies based off books, so I think this is a very interesting top 10 to do.
I thought it was kind of hard, to be honest with you, because one, I don't read a lot of books. So then I had to go off of other, when I was researching, I was like, what do other people think are the best books? But then I I wanted it to be my favorite movies based on books.
Right.
So I mean, I probably haven't read, I don't know how, maybe 2 books off my whole list here.
Oh, I've only read one, so
okay, all right.
But that's why it's top 10 movies based off books. It doesn't mean you have to like the book or have read the book, because usually I don't go into movies read the book, because then I'm comparing them and I'm like, well, that's not as good as the book was, and then I'm just constantly doing that. So I don't ever go read books based off movies.
Well, everybody's lists online were crazy for all these movies I didn't even realize were based on books. So we'll see. I'm interested to see what you got.
Okay, it's going to be an interesting list as always. So what's being Ray Cage said topic? We'll go separate ways and compile our own separate top 10s. I'll do my 10 through 8. He'll do his 10 through 8. I'll do my 7 through 6. He'll do his 7 through 6. Then we'll trade one apiece. Once we'll compile our own separate top 10s, we will create the show between the two of us. And I started first last time, so I'll let you start this time.
Okay. Well, my number 10 is Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay, that's not on my list. It was actually an honorable mention.
Well, I thought I wanted kind of a little bit of a romance in there. And I went with Crazy Rich Asians because I surprisingly really loved this movie. Never read the book, but great cast, all Asian cast, good romantic comedy. And I guess there's multiple books because we're getting sequels to this.
Eventually.
Was really great in this movie. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, Henry Golden, the main guy, he was in that Simple Favor a year or two ago. I can't remember when it actually came out. And the main girl, I really liked her in it. I haven't really seen her in anything before or since, and I like that it's an actual authentic, and we don't just throw a random Tom Cruise in the movie.
It's true. All right, my number 9, I went with Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay, yeah, that's on my list. I didn't know that was based off a book.
Apparently it is, directed by David O. Russell. It's got my girl Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. And
back when Jennifer Lawrence was really good.
Jennifer Lawrence is always really good.
Okay, Dark Phoenix.
This movie is really good at showing people with addiction and mental health problems, and but it's got a really good story, and Jennifer Lawrence is fantastic in it, but so is Bradley Cooper. They're both really good in it. And
I love this movie. Yeah, I love this movie. I mean, you have Russell's, I think, probably ever been, other than probably this and The Fighter, probably my 2 favorite films that I have seen. And then I like the chemistry between Bradley Cooper and I almost say Scarlett Johansson, but Jennifer Lawrence. And also, I really love Robert De Niro. I think he was nominated for an Oscar for this film as the dad who's just like, "Come on, I want to watch the film. I want to watch the Eagles game with you. Come on. Why you being an idiot for? Come on, what are you doing?"
All right. My number 8 is Stephen King. It.
Okay.
Obviously, this is very famous. More recent film adaptation of the book about an alien clown, and I am not the biggest horror guy, and I'm not the biggest book reader, as I've already discussed, but I have read several Stephen King books. This is one that I haven't read, but I'd seen the crappy old TV show back in the day, and wasn't too super excited about it, but I really did like both this and part 2 of this movie. And it's super creepy, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I have another Stephen King movie on my list, but I didn't even put it as my honorable mention. I like it. Which it were you going with? You just going with a combined version?
I just went, yeah. I mean, a lot of these I did that with because but if we wanted to pick one, I guess the first one.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one I
Yep.
mean, the opening scene of it terrified me. Like whenever he bites Dorsey's hand off, that was absolutely terrifying, and it's also very underratedly funny. Like whenever you see it in the background, and he's just eating a hand, and he just waves. Like I enjoyed it. So that good pick.
That's my 10 through 8.
Okay, so my top 10 movies were all movies that made my top 100 movie lists. What I did last year on my top 100 series. So if you want to check that out, people, check it out. It's an awesome series. Put a lot of love and dedication into it, and a lot of work too. So my number 10 is a classic 1939 film. One of the first movies.
Punt.
One of the first movies in color, and that is Gone with the Wind. So yeah, I love Gone with the Wind. I like it's an there's a lot of controversy around the movie, especially last year during the whole Black Lives Matter movement, where they just say the black people are more of a slaveholders, and they just kind of like, oh yes, master, you're doing such a great job. But the movie just has such a great romance to it between Scarlett O'Hara and I forget what Clark Gable's character's name is, but you just have this great relationship between the two, and it's an epic where it's set in the Civil War, and the lives that they once known are it's eventually just going to be gone with the wind. And at the end of the film, where the woman realizes she loves Clark Gable's character, and he's just like, I've had enough of this crazy woman. And she's like, well, what am I going to do? And he says, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. One of the great breakup lines in film history. Absolutely love this film. It's an absolute epic and deserving to be on this list.
I don't think I've seen this, but is it a musical?
No. It's
What am I thinking? I always, when you talk
you're
about
thinking
this
of singing,
movie,
you're thinking of Singing in the Rain, probably.
no. So like a doe, a female doe, and the nanny that comes home, and I always think that
you're talking about Mary Poppins.
No.
Sound of Music?
Sound of Music. That's what it is.
I've never seen Sound of Music. So.
I've seen Sound of Music, and every time you talk about this movie, Gone with the Wind, I think you're talking about Sound of Music.
That's a completely different movie.
So yeah, I definitely never seen Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's a really good movie. All right, my number 9 is one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, and they actually changed a little bit of the premise in the film adaptation, and that is Children of Men.
I guess I had that as an honorable mention. Let's see it in my list here. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I had it at number 11. Honorable mention.
Wow.
So,
I love children, man. I mean, the director of crap, what's the guy's name? Uh,
hold on, I'll pull it up. Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah, he's
Alfonso
awesome.
Cuarón. I love Alfonso Cuarón, and he has another movie on this list as well. But I
Oh.
absolutely love this film. And the difference between I believe the difference between the book version of the movie and the book is that I think in the movie the males are the ones incapable of producing heirs, but in the book version it's the females. So, and it has kind of this like post-apocalypse kind of feel to it, where the world's kind of ending. Like we can't produce heirs anymore. The world's kind of gone crazy. London has kind of gone into a martial law, and you see the main guy for Clive Owen. Clive Owen, as he's navigating what's going on, that scene in the driveway when Julian Moore gets killed is like it's like memorizing. And in that moment, whenever the baby is crying and everyone that was fighting with each other just kind of stops, and it's kind of like a one tracking shot. And then as soon as the baby's gone, the battle just continues like where it left off. I mean, it's a memorizing scene, and I absolutely love Children, man. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's got some an awesome story, some amazing action scenes, or I don't even know if I call them action scenes, but great cinematography and editing,
Mm-hmm.
sound. I mean, it's just a really well put together movie. I agree. It's a good
Okay,
one.
my number 8 is a film that I've made you watch back when we used to pick movies for us to watch each
Hmm.
week, or each not each week, each month,
Yep.
and that is The Princess Bride.
That's in my honorable mentions too.
Okay, so I love The Princess Bride. I mean, it's based off an original book, but I love how in the movie you had the grandpa reading the story of The Princess Bride to his grandson, and I mean the movie's got everything. It's got adventure, it's got romance, it's got action, it's got all kinds of, and the movie is so quotable. I mean, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die, and like other like lines of "Good luck storming the castle," and I just like the actress great. It's got Robin Wright in there, a young Robin Wright, which is I believe one of her first big roles in film. She would later do Forrest Gump, and she was also Claire Underwood, and she was also in Wonder Woman. And I love this movie. I mean, it's got great action, some very funny lines, and a sweet little romance. And yes, little boy, it does have kissing in it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Okay, that's my 10th or 8.
All right. My number 7 is Room.
Okay, I've never seen the movie.
I think I've had this on lists before and we've talked about it, but it's Brie Larson. It's based on a true story, if I remember correctly. But basically, you've got this girl who has been kidnapped and lives out in the shed behind this dude's yard, and there's this kid that she is raped and has this kid in the shed,
Mm-hmm.
and this kid, he doesn't know anything other than this little room that they are basically held in captivity, and he kind of breaks out. It's really about this kid and how, because he does nothing other than what this world he's living in. And it's a really really good movie. It's very depressing, and it's very one of the movies that's kind of hard to watch, but it was, in my top movies of the year when it came out in 2015, and um, a really good movie, really well done.
Yeah,
Brie Larson's
yeah,
really
it's
good
one
in
of
it.
those films I would watch one day. It's the movie I believe that really got Brie Larson Captain Marvel. But she did all those comedies, like she was in like 21
Yep.
Jump Street, and she was in some TV shows. But this kind of pushed her into the next level of her acting career. So I believe she did win the Oscar for this film as well, if I remember right.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So
I don't
yeah,
know.
good choice.
Okay, thank you. It's also a very young Jacob Tremblay. He's
Yeah.
been in a bunch of stuff since then too.
Oh yeah.
That was my number 7. My number 6 is the 2000, I think it's 10 version. Yeah, 2010 version of True Grit.
That's a good pick. I don't have that movie on my list.
Why I went with this one, I know there's another movie with John Wayne that people prefer
Yeah,
because it's
John.
John
Well,
Wayne.
It's John
Yeah,
Wayne and the legendary John Ford are the
yeah.
great. This one's directed by the Coen brothers.
Right. And it's got Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, and a very young Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah,
And it's fantastic. I love this one. I mean, I'm not huge into westerns. I like more modern day westerns. That's why I really like this movie. And when I was reading, this was on several people's list, this specific version, because they said it is a little more realistic and a little more graphic and harder than the original one. That they had toned down the original one for the times, I guess. Whereas this one's a little more violent. Um, and I love this movie. It's freaking
right.
awesome.
Listen, I haven't seen the original the John Wayne True Grit. I would love to watch it one day, but John Wayne did win the Oscar for after a long career. I think they finally gave the Oscar to John Wayne after such a long and great career that John Wayne had,
For this movie.
and yeah, for the original True
Which
Grit.
now he's being canceled because he's a sexist or something. I don't
Sure,
remember.
just like Adolf Rupp's a racist.
Yeah.
But
Maybe that's what.
I don't know if the movie was directed by John Ford. Now I'm thinking about it, I think it maybe wasn't, but I really like the original. I like this cut of the movie, so yeah, good pick.
Thank you.
Okay, my number 7 is The Social Network.
That's a punt.
Okay, my number 6 is one of my favorites. It kind of the franchise kind of started the stupid YA kind of trend that went on during the 2010s, and that is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I have this on my honorable mentions, but it's funny that you picked that movie because that's the one I picked too, because it's my favorite one.
Well, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. There's like I said when at the beginning of this, all the movies I picked on my list were movies that were in my top hundreds movies, and there was only 2 Harry Potters in my top 100. Either this or Deathly Hallows Part 2. But Prisoner of Azkaban I like more because it's an own standalone adventure. There's really not much to do with Voldemort. You have Voldemort's henchmen in Peter Pettigrew, but it doesn't really involve the main story, so it kind of feels like a spin-off adventure in the Harry Potter world. The movie is shot beautifully by Alfonso Cuarón. You have great performances where the actors are finally coming to their own, from Daniel Radcliffe to Emma Watson to Rupert Grint. You have Gary Oldman bringing him in as Sirius Black. And just completely captures the character the Prisoner of Azkaban book is one of my favorite Harry Potter books. I actually do prefer probably the books more than I do the movies because the books are memorizingly so incredible. But I think Prisoner of Azkaban is just great. And in the Patronus scene, whenever he thinks it's his dad, and it's a time travel movie. If you really can think about it, they go back in time, and it kind of turns a fantasy movie into a sci-fi film. Because once you introduce time travel, it becomes a sci-fi. So that's another reason why I love the movie so much. So yeah, I definitely love Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and I had to put it on my list.
The only reason I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter, but I had to give it an honorable mention for me, even because I know its significance, especially like you said for the YA craze. It's very popular, and it's my favorite one too. Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't know if it's your favorite one, but it's my favorite.
It is my favorite one.
Yeah.
That's my 7
okay.
6.
All right. My number 5.
How that happened?
The Hunger Games, and I went ahead and went with the first one, even though, because
at least go Catching Fire.
I mean, Catching Fire is the better movie. You know what?
Why do you go with the better movie?
I'll go with Catching Fire.
Thank you.
My only problem is with this. This was the same thing. I've actually read these books, and the best book is the third book. and it's also the kind of the worst movies. So I don't know. It's kind of hard. But anyways, the I was kind of just doing it all as one, Hunger Games all as one. But Catching Fire is the best movie, and yeah, it's Jennifer Lawrence. It's books that I read in like a month because they were so freaking good. I was so excited for this movie, especially when the first one came out. I remember going to theaters and just being so excited to see this. And yeah, it's kind of when I fell in love with Jennifer Lawrence for the first time, and they're freaking awesome. It's like a post-apocalyptic battle royale, and it's awesome. It's fun stuff.
I hate the first movie because the first movie it basically says if you didn't read the books, this isn't for you. That's basically like the little black girl Rue, I believe is her name. She dies, and they're like,
Very sad.
you should care," and I'm like,
Well,
"But you
if you
don't
read the
get, but you can't make a movie." And expect people to read the books. You have to actually expect people to like the characters. If you just create Star Wars and like, well, if you didn't check out all these 50 other comics, you would not appreciate where Luke Skywalker is. Like, it's like starting Star Wars and already knowing that Luke is Darth Vader's dad. I mean,
well, I agree that they don't give you enough time with the characters so that if you've never read the books, I can understand. I can understand because
but catch it. But
in
I
the
will
books I
say,
cried when Rue dies, but then in the movies I didn't. So
but Catching Fire I really like because I like there's actually a little more chemistry between Katniss and Pita or whatever his name is. It feels like kind of like a Survivor All Stars where we're bringing back the best of the last 20 years or something of Hunger Games. And then when we find out Philip Seymour Hoffman was actually a good guy, and he's been such a bad guy the whole movie. For me, that was such a great twist that I didn't see coming because, like I said, I didn't read the books, and that's the reason why I don't read books before I go to movies because I don't want to know everything going into it.
well, that's my number 5.
Okay, my number four, or no, my number five. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm used to going first. My number five is the Stephen King adaptation, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I have a poster of it in my living room, and that is The Shawshank Redemption.
Figured you were gonna put this on your list. It's in my honorable mentions. I just am not blown away by this movie like everybody else.
Dude, this movie is just like it's incredible. I mean, you have Tim Robbins who plays Andy Dufresne as you follow his 20-year journey as he's an inmate in the Shawshank Redemption, as he battles through corruption and other inmates and all the other things going on in the film. And then you have Morgan Freeman, who's the narrator for the film. And probably if we ever do top 10 Morgan Freeman movies, this is probably my favorite Morgan Freeman film. I mean, his narration in the entire film and then like all the little things with Brooks. Whenever you find out Brooks killed himself because he couldn't make it on the outside because he was institutionalized, and then when Andy escaped Shawshank and completely screws over the warden, and the warden eventually kills himself, and then that end scene with when Morgan Freeman's character of Red is in the parole board hearing, and he said, so you sonny boy, write down whatever you said on your little paper because I don't give a shit. Like it just, and then the ending when he goes off to Mexico to reunite with Andy. I mean, it's such a beautiful movie directed by Frank Darabont, who did The Green Mile and also the first season of Walking Dead. I absolutely love Shawshank Redemption. It's one of those films that's has stayed with me since I've watched it. I've seen it about 3 or 4 times, and it never gets old.
There we
Thanks,
just said
Brady.
one. Yeah.
Thanks, Brady. You bring a
I
lot
thought
to
it
this
I thought it
conversation.
was an okay. I thought it was an okay movie.
Hey,
I don't
you're
get all the
crazy.
love for it. I just
Gosh,
it was
you're just a
I
hater.
don't I mean it's okay.
Whatever.
All
Okay.
right. My number 4 is Jurassic Park.
Okay, that's my number four as well.
We do that at least once every top 10. Uh Freaking Jurassic Park. I feel like this is on every list we ever do. There's
It's
always some
not.
reason why
It's
Jurassic
it's
Park.
not, but movies based off books. The book was written by Michael Crichton, I believe that's his
Yep.
name,
Yep.
and
He also did the sequel is based off the sequel book too.
yeah, sure. I mean,
Which is pretty sweet.
don't get me it started with a Jurassic Park hate fest, but after the
Jurassic.
first movie, they're terrible. And I saw a little bit of this first Jurassic Park on, I think it was on TV the other day. I was watching a little bit of it, and like the kitchen scene alone, when it's just such great camera work, and Steven Spielberg made dinosaurs come to life. That's
Yep.
what makes this movie incredible.
Yep. And really, there are things that they changed from the book. This is one of those books that I've always wanted to read, but I never have got around to it. But for the most part, I think they stuck to the book pretty
Yeah, I mean the
closely.
book. I mean the book. I
Um,
mean I've heard it's a little more horror than the movie's a little more fantastical, and I love the human characters from Dr. Ellie to I forget what Malcolm, Dr. Ian
Jeff Goldblum's.
Malcolm,
Yeah.
and then I forget what's his face's character's name is. But I love their characters, and the speech by Dr. Ian Malcolm is something I wish the Jurassic Park people would realize. It says, "This is like you keep trying to change things, and days are just going to life finds a way." Like
Right.
that's one of my that's if any movies that I watch over and over again, life finds a way is one of my favorite movie quotes of all time.
Jurassic Park is amazing. What was our last top 10?
Monster movies.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it was your number one. It was my number
yeah,
two.
I feel like
Um,
we talk about it a lot. See last top 10 to see my full thoughts on this, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
yeah, I agree with that. It was in my top 20 when I did my top 100. What's your
That's my
number
number
three?
4. What's your number 3?
Well, no, my number four was Jurassic Park. You go first, so you're
Oh, I
next.
forgot. Okay, gotcha. My number 3 is a pump from earlier. It's The Social Network.
Okay, yeah. I love Social Network.
Me too. I remember going and seeing this and having no clue what I was really walking into.
Hmm.
Directed by David Fincher,
Hmm.
Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Justin Timberlake, all
Yeah.
kicking ass in this movie. It's got great dialogue. It really shows you what a douche Mark Zuckerberg was. But I love these kind of movies where you find out how something was created, and it's just a really good movie. And
Oh
I
yeah, it's
rewatched
incredible.
this here recently, and it still holds up. It's one of the best movies.
Oh yeah, I mean I love Social Network. I mean the chemistry between Mark Zuckerberg from Jesse Eisenberg, which I don't think just I think it sucks for Jesse Eisenberg because he has not been as good since the Social Network. Where I think Andrew Gar,
He's good in Zombieland.
you know what I mean though,
Yeah, yeah,
like dramatically wise, I
yeah.
don't think he is nearly as good as he was in the Social Network. But you look at someone like Andrew Garfield, who he has been so good in so many films between Hacksaw Ridge, The Silence. He was pretty decent, and then he had a little franchise for a minute with the Amazing Spider-Man series. And that's the scene though that I always take away. I mean, and also when I watch it like recently, I can't remember the last time I watched Social Network, but when I watched it the most recent time, I realized that the lawyer scenes weren't the same scenes. They were kind of separate, but it kind of makes you think they're all happening at the same time a little
Yeah.
bit. So I think that's great. And then crap, who's the guy who plays the twins? Army Hammer.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
he's
I
a
forgot about that.
yeah,
The
he's
Winklevoss twins.
yeah. I mean, they're pretty good. But the scene that makes me breathless every time is when Andrew Garfield destroys the laptop, and he says, "I was your one friend, and you screwed me." He says, "I'm not coming back for 3 million. I'm coming back for all of it. You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm coming back for all of it." And then also Justin Timberlake. I think Justin Timberlake hasn't been. Of course, Justin Timberlake hasn't really been in a lot of movies since Social Network. Um, I don't think really he hasn't been as good since, but he got to that point where I would love to see him do something very similar to Social Network.
think he's coming back here. There's been a ton of movie announcements with him in it. I think he's just never really committed to acting. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's one of them ones where he's like, I'm a
he does.
musician, and
Yeah,
then
he
he's
does a
like,
little bit of
ah,
both.
yeah. So,
Okay, my number 3
hmm.
is one of my favorite films of all time in my top 10. All 3 of these movies are in my top 10, by the way. My number 3 is The Godfather.
I knew this is on everybody's list, and I
Of
hate The
course it is.
Godfather. So,
It deserves to be on this list. I absolutely love The Godfather. It's Marlon Brando, Al Pacino. Marlon Brando's the old gangster in town. Al Pacino, he doesn't want to be part of his family business. And something happens to Brando's character, to Vivo Corleone. And here, I gave you have a little pop for Mr. Marlon Brando. So I love it, but I like how the story is, where it's basically the father was a very honorable character, and eventually he's not in the health he was, and Al Pacino has to step up to protect the family. The family is what matters, and you see in The Godfather, and then later you see in The Godfather Part Two of how of a horrible human being that Al Pacino's character truly is. This movie is memorizing every time I watch it, and directed by the legendary Francis Ford Coppola. I absolutely love The Godfather, and it's one I could put in right now and watch it and just enjoy it. And then the score also is one of the great movie scores of all time. So absolutely love The Godfather.
is that one you put in if you want to go to sleep real quick? That's for me.
Well, screw you.
All
Yeah, it's my
right.
number third.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
My number 2, I wanted to do an animated movie. I was looking through all the animated movies
Oh,
based
here we
on
go.
books, and there's a ton of them. I am amazed at how many animated movies are based off of books. But I went with my favorite, of course, How to Train Your Dragon, obviously.
Okay, the
Because
first one, the second one.
I'm gonna go with the first one, even though I
Cool.
do like the second movie the best. I'm gonna go with the
Okay.
first one because uh, I don't know how much the second and third movies relate to the book. I never read the books, but I know that that first movie is based off the first book, and I don't know even know if there's any other books. But How to Train Your Dragon is amazing. They're my favorite, one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It's got great heart between Hiccup and Toothless, and it's at the time the animation was amazing, great music, awesome story. It's just pinnacle of DreamWorks animation, and everybody knows How to Train Your Dragon's like my favorite. So
Yeah, I mean, I love How to Train Your Dragon. I love the first How to Train Your Dragon. I think we talked about it on this podcast or the show many times before. I don't think the second movie or the third movie are hold a candle to the first How to Train Your Dragon. I think the second one's really. I think the second one is a really good movie, but I don't think the third one really is that great. I think it's okay. I don't think. But the first movie, it's a kid. It's a come of age story. I mean, the kid who is trying to. People just kind of thinking he's just a nuisance, and he bridges his gap. It's a boy and his dog story, and all these little other stuff. Toothless is great. The score, the How to Train Your Dragon score by
James Newton Howard, right?
no, it's not James Newton Howard. It was James Powell.
Oh yeah, you're right. John
Yeah,
Powell.
yeah, John Powell.
Yep,
John Powell's How to Train Your Dragon score is like one of my favorite movie scores. If we ever do movie scores, that'll probably be on the list. But
yeah, John Powell.
I can listen to that all the time. It's
It's awesome.
breathtaking, and yeah, I absolutely love How to Train Your Dragon. It's one of my favorites.
All right. What's your
Okay,
number 2?
my number 2 is I gotta break the first 2 rules of it.
Oh, see, I almost had this in my list, but only wanted to do one David Fincher, so I chose The Social Network. But
I chose
this was in my honorable mentions. It was
dude,
definitely
Fight Club. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Fight Club. Because Fight Club made me go, holy crap, you can do that in film. That is amazing. It completely blew my mind of what movies are. And fight so for that reason, and this is another movie that is hanging on my wall in my living room. Fight Club is one of my favorite movies of all time. Brad Pitt playing the personality. I mean, when you find out that Brad Pitt was imaginary and just a personality of Edward Norton's character, you're just like, I don't know about you, but when I watched it, I was like, holy crap. And then that's one of those films that as soon as you see that, you have to go back and watch it again to figure out all this. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, it's just like, it's absolutely incredible. And all the other people that are in the movie, I mean, Helen Bonham Carter, I mean, she's really great in it. Completely crazy in what she would do in a lot of her other films that we see throughout her career. Also, you have Jared Leto's in the film, and then I think Meatloaf, I believe, was in the film.
Yep.
I mean,
I was just about to say Meatloaf's in this movie randomly,
and then his name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. The first rule of Project Mayhem. We do not talk about Project Mayhem. The first rule. I mean, the movie is just—it's so quotable. I mean, what the movie also says about people marketing and the Starbucks, how things take over your mind. I mean, the movie's just—it's just so quotable. It's been the poster has been in so many college dorm rooms. Like, I love Fight Club. It's one of my favorites.
It's been a while since I've seen this one, but yeah,
You
I
might have
still
to.
remember a lot of it, and it was crazy when you get to the end of it, and you're like, holy crap! It's a great movie, great
Yeah.
movie. So I guess this would be your favorite David Fincher movie, then?
Yeah, it's my favorite David Fincher. I go this one, then I would probably go 7, and then probably Social Network would be 3, and then Zodiac.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we have the same number one because when I thought book adaptations, I
It's only
immediately
one.
thought Lord of the Rings. I mean, come
Right,
on. Yeah.
right. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Oh, you said
So,
Return of the King. I went with the original.
so see, just
I
for
did
me.
Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay, we'll talk about Fellowship of the Ring. So,
Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, it's the original. I remember because we were reading the books in school,
mhm.
and when that first trailer comes out, I was like, "Holy crap!" Peter Jackson had brought this book to life. It was insane. I
Mhm.
was like, it's visually stunning. The cast is great. I just I think of the original. Now, I'm not going to say the original is the best movie. I probably agree with you. Return of the King is probably the best movie, but
For
I don't know.
me, it really is one movie because it was all shot together. It was the first one that we seen people. They shot the entire film all at once, and then I absolutely love this film. Though I mean,
They
I
released these
love
back to back, didn't they? Every
yeah
year or
every
two.
year
Yep.
2001, 2002, 2003, and then you would see the great Hobbit movies do the same thing, which are nowhere near as good as Lord of the Rings. But I think a lot of it comes down to the Lord of the Rings used practical effects. They shot on location. Where the Hobbit films, they did the Star Wars prequel style. We did CGI army, CGI this, and I love the Fellowship of the Ring. It's my second favorite Lord of the Rings. I go Return of the King, Lord of the Fellowship, and then Two Towers. And the scene with Boromir when Boromir dies in Fellowship of the Ring is horrible. Whenever the music, and then also I've talked about movie scores this entire episode, but the Howard Shore Lord of the Rings score is one of my favorite movie score. It's like the only Lord of the Rings is like it's Star Wars and then it's Lord of the Rings, but it's right there. And Return to King for me personally is my favorite just because of it's an epic. Everything that we've been going to for the last 2 films is going into this. Can this third movie deliver? You have Gollum, you have Samwise Gamgee, my favorite character in Lord of the Rings, who,
Really?
yes, I mean, absolutely. He is the guy without Sam, the world falls to Sauron. Frodo cannot do it by himself. Sam is just he's the every guy person who's just there to help his friend. And he just picks, he says, like, he tells Frodo, he says, I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. Picks Frodo up, and then Smeagol, like when Smeagol, whenever Frodo says, the ring is mine, and you're like, no, don't do it. He puts the ring on, and then the eye, you see the eye of Sauron goes to, it's like, holy crap, the ring is right there. Nazgul, get your butt over here right now. And Smeagol bites the ring off, and Smeagol, I mean, Andy Serkis,
amazing.
These movies are such what they did for motion capture, because we saw Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace, which was like really one of the first big movies to use motion capture. But we see what Andy Serkis and Lord of the Rings create such a devious character of Smeagol is absolutely incredible. And I understand people's criticism of there's like 15 endings to Return to the King.
I love them. Yeah, they're long, and then you throw in the extended versions, and then you're like, 5 hours. But I love it. So
so yeah, that's my number one, and I'm glad that's your number one as well. So yeah, we had 3 honorable mentions. So go us.
Woo!
All right, so I figure we'll just do Lord of the Rings. We'll just say that's number one. So
what? Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, as a whole, the whole thing. Is that what you're saying? Lord of the Rings is number one. Yep, gotcha.
We both had Jurassic Park at number 4, so
perfect.
We'll put that at number 4.
Mm-hmm. I had Social Network at 3,
and I had it at 7. So I'm thinking 5.
That'd be perfect.
Okay, now we just gotta figure out the rest of this list.
Okay.
Okay, so I had Fight Club at 2. What'd you have at 2?
How to Train Your Dragon at 2. I will say, I don't know, did you have How to Train Your Dragon in your list at all?
I did not.
Well, I did have Fight Club in my honorable mentions. So you're
going to give me Fight Club?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Since I did.
Okay, I put Fight Club at 2, and I'll put How to Train Your Dragon at 3.
Okay.
Okay. I had The Godfather at 3. What's your next highest?
You beat me. My next highest is 5. So.
Okay. Okay. What's your number 5 then?
The Hunger Games.
Okay, I had Shawshank. I'll give you Hunger Games.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go Catching Fire. So.
I'm fine. That's fine. I don't know. If we did Lord of the Rings, we could just do The Hunger Games.
Nope. Can't
do
it. I can't live with myself if I do that. Okay, I had Shawshank at 5. So.
It's crazy because Catching Fire is the worst book, I think.
It's just the last movie. The last movie should have been. The last book should have just been one movie. It shouldn't have been divided into 2. And that third movie, I think it's probably one of the worst ones because all the political bullcrap I hate.
I love the third movie. I think it's the fourth one that's kind of.
I ever watched the fourth one and third one. I just don't think I think it ends kind of crappy with Candace looking at a little young Peter going like, everything's just a game. And I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer Lawrence.
All right. What number are we on?
Okay, so we got 2 slots left.
Okay.
I have my number 6, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. What do you have left?
I have my number 6 is True Grit. So
let's go True Grit and Harry Potter.
Okay. Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Okay, let me announce this to all serial fans watching right now to the Easy Game Show. The top 10 movie based on books. Yeah. At number 10, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. At number 9, True Grit. At number 8, The Shawshank Redemption. At number 7, Hunger Games Catching Fire. At number 6, The Godfather. At number 5, The Social Network. At number 4, Jurassic Park. At number 3, How to Train Your Dragon. At number 2, Fight Club. And the number 1 movie based off a book is The Lord of the Rings. Da, 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 da. Okay, honorable mentions. You got any?
I mean, we talked about a lot of them. I had Children of Men that was on your list. I had Forrest Gump, which I think you mentioned that wasn't on your list.
I have it on my honorable mentions. It's
great.
It's okay.
Great movie. Jumanji.
Didn't know it was based off a book.
It is. Princess Bride. You talked about Little Women, the Greta Gerwig version.
That was on my honorable mentions.
Yeah. Fight Club, Harry Potter, Shawshank Redemption, and then I also threw in Shining as my last and final.
Okay. The ones I have To Kill a Mockingbird, 1960s film. I have The Wizard of Oz, classic 1939 film. I mean, the scene when it goes from black and white to color is memorizing, still to this day. I went with The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, I hate that movie.
Oh, I love that movie, man.
I hate that movie.
I absolutely agree. I don't know what's wrong with you. The movie that was so close to making my top 10 was Goodfellas, which is based off the book The Wise Guys. And then I also have The Bridge of the River Kwai, which is a Sir Alec Guinness film, directed by Richard Lear, which is like a World War II of British soldiers building a bridge for the Japanese. And then my final film is Breakfast at Tiffany's, the legendary Audrey Hepburn film.
Never seen that one.
So, all right, guys, that concludes this episode. Next week, we are doing something brand new. We are doing Easy Cage review. We'll be watching a movie and then reviewing it on the show together.
Oh, okay.
And the movie we picked this a while ago, which he probably doesn't even remember because it's Ray Cage as he eats some Skittles. We are watching Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Was that the first Indiana Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to be checking.
I have to rewatch that within the week. That's what you're telling me.
Yes. You have a week, so you can do it. I believe you. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, legendary film collaboration between Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. And I'm looking forward to rewatching it. It's been a while since I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. I actually prefer Last Crusade more, but we'll probably get there. We'll probably
Temple of Doom.
Do what?
It's not Temple of Doom.
Oh yeah, or not Kingdom of Crystal Skulls.
Oh yeah. Which
I don't know, which I've still never seen and will probably never see. So guys, check us out here every Sunday until I guess he goes on vacation. Then we probably won't have an episode that week. But check us out here every week that you see us on the Easy K show. Check out our old episodes on the Darth Easy YouTube channel. And check out Randy Cage at his letterbox if you still like reading stuff on the internet. Anything else, Randy Cage?
No, it's a beautiful day and it's a beautiful world. And Trump 2024.
I hate you. All right, guys.